Ladies and gentlemen, what am I bid for this slightly used husband? Lisa's voice cut through the Friday night chatter at Murphy's Lounge like a rusty knife through my pride. I stood there, beer halfway to my lips, watching my wife of 12 years hold court with her circle of friends like some twisted game show host. The laughter that followed felt like ice water in my veins. "He's handy with tools," she continued, gesturing at me with her wine glass. "Comes with his own auto shop and he's house-trained, mostly." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. More laughter. Madison, her bleached blonde friend from the yoga studio, practically shrieked with delight. Priya, the wannabe Instagram influencer, was already filming with her phone. Only Sophie, the quiet one, looked uncomfortable. My name's Henry Drake, and I'm 38 years old. I own Drake's Auto Repair on Elm Street, inherited from my father, along with his debts and his stubborn pride. I've got calloused hands, a mortgage that keeps me up at night, and apparently a wife who thinks public humiliation is comedy gold. Do I hear opening bids? Lisa slurred slightly. She'd been drinking since we arrived 2 hours ago, but this wasn't alcohol talking. This was something deeper, meaner. "I'll give you $20 and a gift card to Olive Garden," Madison called out, and the group erupted again. I forced a smile, the kind you wear when your dentist is drilling without enough Novocaine. "Ha-ha! Very funny, honey." But Lisa wasn't done. "Oh, wait, there's more. He comes with bonus features like leaving dirty socks everywhere, falling asleep during movies, and having strong opinions about proper wrench organization." Derek Halloran, who joined our group 20 minutes ago, leaned back in his chair with that smug smile I'd grown to hate. He was Lisa's new friend from her tech company, all perfect teeth and expensive cologne. The kind of guy who probably had his shirts pressed by someone named Consuela. "Sounds like a real catch," Derek said, his voice dripping with mock sincerity. "What's the return policy?" That got the biggest laugh yet. Even Priya stopped filming to wipe tears from her eyes. I set my beer down carefully, the way you handle explosives. "Well, this has been fun, but I think I'll—" "Oh no, Henry, don't be such a sport killer," Lisa interrupted. "We're just having fun, right everyone?" A chorus of agreement rose from her friends, everyone except Sophie, who was studying her drink like it held the secrets of the universe. "Besides," Lisa continued, her voice getting that edge it got when she'd decided to go for blood, "maybe someone here would actually appreciate what they're getting. Derek, you're single, right?" Derek's smile widened. "Depends on what's on offer." The way he looked at Lisa when he said it made something cold and ugly twist in my stomach. This wasn't random cruelty. This was performance art, and I was the canvas they were painting on. "Tell you what," I said, standing up slowly. "Why don't you all figure out the bidding details? I'm going to get some air." "Henry, don't be dramatic," Lisa called after me, but I was already walking away. I made it to the bar before the shaking started. Not fear, anger, pure crystallized rage that I'd been swallowing for months while Lisa grew more distant, more critical, more cruel. "Rough night?" The bartender, a guy named Tommy who'd graduated high school with me, slid a whiskey across the bar without being asked. "My wife thinks I'm for sale." "Yeah, I heard. Sorry, man. That's harsh even for Lisa." Even for Lisa. That said everything, didn't it? Everyone knew what she'd become, but I'd been too proud or too stupid to see it clearly. I knocked back the whiskey and pulled out my phone. 3 missed calls from my shop foreman, Gus. Probably some emergency with the Miller account. At least someone still needed me for something legitimate. Behind me, Lisa's laughter rose above the crowd noise again. I turned to look and saw her leaning close to Derek, whispering something that made him grin. His hand was on her arm, fingers tracing small circles on her skin. That's when it clicked. The late nights at the office, the new clothes, the way she'd started criticizing everything I did, like she was building a case against me. The auction wasn't a joke. It was a public execution, and Derek was the executioner. I paid for my drink and headed for the exit. As I passed their table, I heard Derek say, "So what's the reserve price on this auction?" "Oh, I think we can work something out," Lisa replied. "I'm very motivated to sell." The cold night air hit my face like a slap, but it felt good. Clean. I stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, watching normal people live their normal lives through the restaurant windows across the street. Couples sharing desserts, families with kids drawing on napkins, people who weren't getting auctioned off by their spouses. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Stop being such a baby, it's just a joke, coming home soon." I deleted it without responding and walked to my truck. As I drove home, I made a decision that would change everything. The auction was over, but Lisa didn't know it yet. She thought she was selling damaged goods. What she didn't realize was that she'd just bought herself a war. I got home to our empty house on Maple Street, a 1950s colonial that we'd bought when we still used words like "we" and "our future." The mortgage papers were in both our names, but I'd made every payment for the last 3 years, while Lisa's salary went to what she called investments in herself. The first thing I did was check her laptop. Lisa was careless with passwords, always using variations of our anniversary date. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her email told the story I'd been too blind to read. 3 months of messages with Derek, starting professional and getting progressively more personal. Lunch meetings that turned into dinner dates. Compliments about her brilliant marketing insights that morphed into comments about her eyes, her smile, her body. The most recent exchange made my hands shake. Derek. "Can't wait for Henry to be out of the picture. You deserve so much better." Lisa. "Soon. I'm working on it. Tonight should help move things along." Lisa. "The auction was perfect. He looked so pathetic. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost." Derek. "You're incredible. Can't wait to celebrate properly tomorrow night." Tomorrow night. Saturday. While I'd be working late at the shop catching up on the Henderson transmission job. I screenshotted everything and emailed the files to myself from an account Lisa didn't know about. Then I did something that would have made my father proud. I got methodical. First, I pulled our financial records. Lisa had been siphoning money from our joint account for 2 months, small amounts that wouldn't trigger alerts. 500 here, 300 there. It added up to nearly $4,000, all withdrawn in cash. Second, I called my friend Kellen Murphy, who'd become a detective with the local police after his army stint. We'd played football together in high school, back when life made sense. "Henry? Christ, it's midnight. What's wrong?" "Kellen, I need advice, legal advice, about protecting assets in a divorce." Silence. Then, "Jesus. Lisa?" "Lisa. Come by the station Monday. We'll talk. And Henry, don't do anything stupid between now and then." Define stupid. "Anything that involves your fists, a baseball bat, or gasoline." Got it. Third, I went down to my basement workshop and started thinking. This was my space, the one room in the house Lisa never entered because it smelled like motor oil and sawdust. My father's tools hung on pegboards, each one in its designated spot. He'd taught me that good work required good tools, properly maintained and organized. "Measure twice, cut once," he used to say, "and never start a job you can't finish." I was measuring now, taking inventory, calculating what I had to work with and what I stood to lose. The house was in both our names, but I'd paid the down payment with money from selling Dad's Harley. The auto shop was mine, free and clear, inherited before I met Lisa. My truck was paid off. Her BMW had 2 years left on the lease. But none of that mattered if she took me to court with a good lawyer and a sob story about emotional abuse. I could already hear her version, the controlling husband who criticized her friends, who worked too much, who didn't appreciate her needs. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lisa. Staying at Madison's tonight. Don't wait up. Madison lived 20 minutes in the opposite direction from Derek's downtown condo. I knew this because I'd installed the GPS tracker on Lisa's BMW 3 months ago, back when I thought she might be having car trouble in bad neighborhoods. The tracker app showed her car parked on Riverside Drive. Derek's address, according to his business card, was 1247 Riverside Drive, Unit 12A. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat in Dad's old recliner, staring at the phone screen. The little blue dot that represented my wife, my marriage, my entire adult life, sitting motionless at another man's apartment. The bourbon burned, but not as much as the truth. Lisa thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. What she didn't understand was that I'd been watching her moves for months, learning her strategy, preparing my defense. But defense wasn't going to be enough, not after tonight, not after the auction. I opened my laptop and started researching divorce law in Maine, property division, alimony calculations, grounds for fault-based divorce. Adultery was still grounds. So was cruel and abusive treatment. I had evidence of the first. Tonight had provided plenty of the second. By 3 a.m., I had a plan. Not the whole plan. That would take time to develop properly. But the foundation was there, solid as the concrete Dad had poured for this basement 40 years ago. Lisa wanted to auction me off? Fine. But she was about to learn that some auctions end with the seller losing everything. I finished the bourbon and went upstairs to our bedroom. Her side of the bed was cold and empty, smelling faintly of the expensive perfume Derek had probably bought her. I lay there in the dark, listening to the house settle around me, and smiled for the first time in hours. The auction was over. Now it was time for the foreclosure. Saturday morning came with a hangover I didn't deserve, and a wife who stumbled in at 7 a.m. wearing yesterday's clothes and tomorrow's regrets. Don't, she said when I looked up from my coffee. Just don't. I wasn't going to say anything. Good, because I'm not in the mood for one of your lectures. She disappeared upstairs, and I heard the shower running. When she came back down 20 minutes later, she was dressed for the annual Riverside Summer Festival, the kind of community event she usually avoided like food poisoning. I'm meeting the girls at the festival, she announced, not looking at me. Madison's entering the pie contest. Madison couldn't bake water, but I didn't point that out. Instead, I said, Derek going to be there? The coffee mug froze halfway to her lips. Why would you ask that? Just wondering if I should expect another auction. Maybe you could raffle me off this time. Sell tickets. You're not funny, Henry. Neither were you last night, but that didn't stop anyone from laughing. She set the mug down hard enough to slosh coffee onto the counter. It was a joke. God, you're so sensitive. Right, a joke. Like staying at Madison's last night was a joke? Her face went white, then red. Are you tracking me now? Jesus Christ, Henry, that's psychotic. The GPS is for insurance purposes, you know that. But funny thing, it shows you never went anywhere near Madison's house. For a moment, I thought she might confess. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Then the defiance kicked in, the same stubborn pride that had attracted me to her 15 years ago. I don't have to explain myself to you. We're married, not joined at the hip. No, we're definitely not joined at the hip. Or anywhere else for that matter. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'll be home later. Try not to interrogate the neighbors while I'm gone. After she left, I called Gus and told him I'd be in later. Then I showered, shaved, and put on my best jeans, and the blue button-down Lisa used to say brought out my eyes. If I was going to a festival, I was going to look like I belonged there. The Riverside Summer Festival was peak small-town America, craft booths, face painting, a dunking booth staffed by the volunteer fire department, and enough fried food to clog the arteries of a small nation. I bought a funnel cake I didn't want and wandered through the crowd, looking for familiar faces. I found them at the beer tent. Lisa, Madison, Priya, and Sophie sat at a picnic table, along with Derek and two other guys I didn't recognize. Lisa was animated, gesturing with a plastic cup of beer, clearly continuing last night's performance. "Henry!" Madison called out when she spotted me. "Come join us! We were just talking about you!" "I'll bet you were." I walked over with my best aw-shucks smile. "All good things, I hope." "Oh, the best," Derek said, standing up to shake my hand like we were old friends. "Lisa was telling us about your business. Sounds fascinating." His grip was firm but soft. Gym muscles, not work muscles. Up close, I could see the expensive haircut, the designer sunglasses, the watch that probably cost more than I made in a month. "It pays the bills," I said. "What about you, Derek? Lisa mentioned you work with her?" "Marketing consultant. I help companies optimize their brand presence." "Ah, so you're in the business of making things look better than they actually are." His smile flickered. "You could say that." "Henry," Lisa warned, "but I was just getting started. That's a useful skill. Must come in handy in all sorts of situations. Personal ones, I mean." The table went quiet. Priya, ever the drama vulture, started reaching for her phone. "Actually," I continued, "I wanted to thank you all for last night. The auction thing was really something. Educational, you might say." "Henry, please," Sophie said quietly. She was the only one who looked genuinely uncomfortable. "No, it's fine, really. It got me thinking about value, about what things are actually worth versus what people think they're worth." I pulled out my phone and opened the GPS tracker app, setting it on the table where everyone could see the screen. See, the funny thing about auctions is that they require honest disclosure. You have to tell people what they're really buying, all the flaws, all the history, all the hidden damage. Lisa's face had gone pale. "Henry, what are you doing?" "Just sharing some interesting information, like this GPS data from last night. Shows a car registered to Lisa Drake parked at 1247 Riverside Drive from 11:47 p.m. to 6:23 a.m. Derek stood up so fast his chair tipped over. "I think we should—" "Sit down, Derek." My voice carried enough edge to cut glass. "We're just getting to the good part." I swiped to the next screen, screenshots of the email exchange I'd found. "This is from Lisa's email account. Want me to read some highlights? There's some really romantic stuff in here. Very touching." "You went through my email?" Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. "Honey, you left your laptop open. I was just checking the weather." Madison started to say something, but I held up my hand. "The best part is this message from yesterday. Can't wait for Henry to be out of the picture. You deserve so much better." That's from Derek, by the way, in case anyone was wondering who the high bidder was. The silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Around us, the festival continued. Kids laughing, music playing, normal people having normal fun. But at our little table, the world had stopped. Derek tried one more time. "Look, this is between you and Lisa." "No," I said, standing up. "This stopped being between me and Lisa the moment you decided to bid on another man's wife." I leaned across the table, close enough to smell his expensive cologne mixed with fear sweat. "Here's what's going to happen, Derek. You're going to walk away from this table, get in your car, and drive home. You're going to delete Lisa's number from your phone. You're going to forget you ever met her. Because if I see you anywhere near my wife again, anywhere near my house, anywhere in my general vicinity, I'm going to introduce you to some of my tools, the sharp ones." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm educating you. About value, about consequences, about what happens when you try to steal something that doesn't belong to you." Derek looked around the table for support, but found none. Even Madison was staring at her beer like it held the answers to life's mysteries. "This is insane," he muttered, but he was already backing away from the table. "Derek, wait," Lisa called out, but he was gone, disappearing into the crowd like the coward he was. I sat back down and took a sip of my beer. "Well, that was refreshing. Anyone want to talk about the weather?" The explosion came exactly as I'd expected. Lisa's explosion was magnificent in its fury and pathetic in its predictability. She stood up so fast the picnic table rocked, beer sloshing everywhere. "How dare you!" she screamed, loud enough to draw stares from neighboring tables. "How dare you humiliate me like this?" Humiliate you? I kept my voice level, reasonable. I thought we were still playing auction games. You know, full disclosure to potential buyers. You're sick. Going through my private emails, tracking my car like some kind of stalker. Madison and Priya were exchanging glances, already calculating how this drama would play on social media. Sophie looked like she wanted to disappear into the ground. Private emails on the laptop I bought, sent from the account I pay for, about the affair you're having with a man you met through the job I supported you through college to get. Each word hit like a hammer blow. Lisa's face cycled through white, red, and back to white. "We're going home," she said through gritted teeth. "Now." "No, I don't think we are. See, I'm enjoying the festival. The beer's cold, the company's educational, and I'm learning all sorts of interesting things about my friends." I looked around the table. Madison was filming with her phone now, not even trying to hide it. Priya looked torn between excitement and horror. Sophie was studying her hands like they held the secrets of the universe. "For instance," I continued, "I'm learning that Madison knew about Derek. The way she's not surprised by any of this tells me she's been in on it from the beginning. Probably helped plan some of those late-night work meetings." Madison's face flushed. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't. And Priya, you've been documenting this whole thing for your Instagram story, haven't you? The dramatic wife, the cheating scandal, the public confrontation. This is gold content for you." "Henry, stop," Sophie said quietly. "This isn't helping anyone." "You're right, Sophie. You're the only one here who tried to warn me, aren't you? All those times you looked uncomfortable when they were planning their little jokes. All those times you changed the subject when they started talking about Derek." Sophie's silence was confirmation enough. Lisa was shaking now, whether from rage or fear I couldn't tell. "I want a divorce." "Good. So do I. I've already talked to a lawyer." That stopped her cold. "What?" "Kellen Murphy recommended someone. Specializes in fault-based divorces, adultery, cruel treatment, that sort of thing. Turns out Maine law is very interested in spouses who abandon their marital duties to pursue extramarital relationships. You can't prove anything." I held up my phone again. GPS data, email records, witness testimony. I'd say I can prove quite a lot. "Those emails are private. You can't use them in court." "Actually, I can. They were accessed from a jointly owned computer using shared internet service. No expectation of privacy. My lawyer was very clear about that." The fight went out of her like air from a punctured tire. She sank back onto the bench, suddenly looking older than her 36 years. "What do you want?" she whispered. "I want you to understand something, Lisa. You thought you were trading up. You thought Derek was a better deal than the blue-collar husband with the dirty fingernails and the small-town dreams. But you forgot something important." I leaned forward, my voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "You forgot that I know you. I know about the credit cards you maxed out in college. I know about the job you got fired from for padding your expense account. I know about the time you rear-ended that car and drove away without leaving a note. I know about your sister's prescription pills that went missing when you visited her after her surgery." Her face had gone gray. Madison and Priya were staring at Lisa like they'd never seen her before. "I know all your secrets, Lisa. And now I know about Derek. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to move out of my house. You're going to find your own apartment, your own life, your own problems. You're going to sign whatever divorce papers my lawyer draws up, and you're going to do it quietly, without drama, without trying to take half of everything I've worked for. And if I don't? Then I start talking. To your boss about the expense account irregularities I noticed. To the insurance company about that hit and run. To anyone who'll listen about the real Lisa Drake, not the carefully constructed version you show the world. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks in black streams. For a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "You're destroying me," she sobbed. "No, Lisa. I'm just refusing to let you destroy me anymore." I stood up, pulled out my wallet, and dropped a 20 on the table. "Lunch is on me, ladies. Enjoy the rest of the festival." As I walked away, I heard Sophie say quietly, "Lisa, how could you do this to him?" And Madison's voice, sharp with newfound righteousness, "I can't believe you dragged us into this mess." The crowd parted around me as I made my way toward the parking lot. Behind me, I could hear Lisa's sobs getting louder, more desperate. Part of me wanted to turn back, to comfort her the way I had 1,000 times before. But that part was getting smaller every step I took. My phone buzzed, a text from Gus. "Heard there was some excitement at the festival. You okay, boss?" I smiled and typed back, "Never better. See you Monday." As I drove home, I thought about my father's advice. Measure twice, cut once. I'd been measuring for months, taking careful inventory of my marriage, my wife, my life. Now it was time to cut. Sunday morning, Lisa was gone. She'd packed 2 suitcases and left a note on the kitchen counter. "Staying with Madison until I figure things out. We need to talk." I crumpled the note and threw it away. We'd done enough talking. The house felt different without her. Lighter somehow, like a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying had been lifted. I made coffee in my favorite mug, the one Lisa always complained was too big, and sat on the back porch watching the sun come up over the neighborhood. My phone rang. Kellen. "Jesus, Henry, the whole town's talking about yesterday. You okay?" "Better than I've been in months." "Good, because you might want to prepare yourself. Lisa's been making calls. She's telling people you threatened her, that you're unstable, that she's afraid of you." I sipped my coffee and watched Mrs. Patterson from next door walk her ancient beagle. "Let her talk. I've got evidence. She's got stories. Evidence beats stories in court, but stories can beat evidence in the court of public opinion. Just be careful." "I will. Thanks, Kellen." Monday morning at the shop, Gus was waiting with coffee and a shit-eating grin. "So," he said, "heard you caused quite a stir at the festival. News travels fast. Faster when Priya Martinez posts about it on Instagram. That girl's got more followers than the Pope." I groaned. "What did she say?" "Nothing specific, just something about drama at the festival and when keeping it real goes wrong. But the comments section is lit up like a Christmas tree." Great. My personal life was now community entertainment. The morning passed quietly until Derek showed up around 11. I was under the hood of Mrs. Chen's Honda when Gus knocked on the fender. "Boss, you got a visitor, and he looks nervous." I slid out from under the hood, wiping my hands on a shop rag. Derek stood by the office door, looking like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. "Henry, can we talk? Privately?" I nodded to Gus, who disappeared into the parts room but left the door open. Smart man. "What can I do for you, Derek?" "Look, I want to apologize. About Lisa, about everything. I never meant for it to go this far." "How far did you mean for it to go?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know. It just happened. One thing led to another." "Right. Things just happen. Like her marriage vows just happened to slip her mind. Like your conscience just happened to take a vacation. I know you're angry." "I'm not angry, Derek. Angry is what I was Saturday morning. Now I'm just tired. Tired of lies, tired of games, tired of people who think other people's lives are their playground. She told me you guys were having problems, that you were practically separated. And you believed her because it was convenient to believe her." He had the grace to look ashamed. "Yeah, I guess so." "Here's the thing, Derek. I almost feel sorry for you. Because you think you won something. You think you got the prize. But what you actually got was a woman who will lie to her husband's face for months, who'll humiliate him in public for entertainment, who'll steal money from joint accounts to fund her affair. His face went pale. She wouldn't. $4,000, Derek. Withdrawn in cash over 2 months. Want to guess where it went? The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Finally, Derek cleared his throat. What do you want from me? I want you to understand what you're buying. Lisa's not a victim here. She's not some poor, neglected wife who just needs understanding. She's a woman who gets bored easily, who needs constant attention, who'll burn down everything around her if it means getting what she wants. She loves me. She loved me too, once, right up until someone more interesting came along. I walked over to my toolbox and pulled out a wrench, hefting its weight in my hand. Derek took a step back. Relax, I said. I'm not going to hit you. But this wrench? It's been in my family for 40 years. My father used it, his father before him. It's built things, fixed things, held things together when they wanted to fall apart. I set the wrench on the workbench. That's what I thought marriage was, a tool for building something lasting. But Lisa thought it was a stepping stone to something better. And you? You thought it was just an obstacle to remove. Henry, I'm sorry. I really am. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. Sorry it got messy. Sorry there were consequences. But you're not sorry you did it, because you'd do it again tomorrow if you thought you could get away with it. Derek opened his mouth to argue, then closed it again. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to take Lisa and her problems and make them your problems. You're going to deal with her mood swings, her need for constant validation, her creative relationship with the truth. You're going to discover that the woman who'll cheat with you will cheat on you. And when she does, when she finds someone newer and more exciting, you're going to understand exactly how I felt Saturday morning. You're wrong about her. Maybe, but I doubt it. Either way, she's your problem now. Derek left without another word. Through the office window, I watched him sit in his BMW for a long moment before driving away. Feel better? Gus asked, emerging from the parts room. Actually, yeah, I do. That evening, I got a call from Sophie. Henry, I hope it's okay that I'm calling. I got your number from the phone book. It's fine, Sophie. What's up? I wanted to apologize for not saying something sooner. I knew what Lisa was doing, and I should have warned you. Why didn't you? A long pause. Because I was a coward, and because I knew what it felt like to be where you were. What do you mean? My ex-husband. He cheated with my best friend. They made me feel crazy for months, gaslighting me, making me think I was paranoid and jealous. When I finally found out, they acted like it was my fault for not being understanding enough. I'm sorry. The worst part was watching my friends choose sides. Most of them chose his side because he was more fun at parties. Lisa reminded me of him. Charming, manipulative, always the victim when things went wrong. Is that why you stayed quiet at their little coffee clatch sessions? Yeah. I kept hoping you'd figure it out on your own, but I was too much of a coward to just tell you outright. Well, I figured it out eventually. You did more than that. You handled it better than I ever could have. When my world fell apart, I just crawled into a hole and hid. You fought back. I had good teachers. My father always said the only way to deal with a bully is to punch them in the nose. Lisa's not speaking to any of us now. She says we abandoned her in her time of need. What do Madison and Priya say about that? Madison's telling everyone she never really liked Derek anyway. Priya's milking the drama for all it's worth on social media. They're both trying to distance themselves from the whole mess. Rats fleeing a sinking ship. Pretty much. Henry? Yeah. I'm glad you found out. You deserve better than what she was giving you. After I hung up, I poured myself a bourbon and sat in Dad's chair, thinking about deserving better. For 12 years, I'd convinced myself that marriage meant accepting whatever you got, working with the hand you were dealt. But maybe deserving better wasn't about what you could tolerate. Maybe it was about what you refused to accept. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Can we please talk? I'm ready to discuss terms. I deleted the message without responding. We'd talked enough. The auction was over. The house was sold. Time to move on.